Usually when we talk about time travel, we're talking about, H.G. Wells or Back to the Future.
Right, some complex theoretical physics.
Exactly, involving wormholes and paradoxes. It's always some kind of external technology. But imagine for a second that you already own a time machine.
Okay, I'm with you.
And I don't mean a DeLorean, I mean a literal internal mechanism, something hardwired into your psychology that allows you to change not just your future, but your past.
That's a provocative opening. I mean, most of us view the past as granite.
Totally.
It's set, it's done, the ink is dry, you can't change it.
Exactly. We're taught that we can, learn from the past or we can regret the past, but we certainly can't touch it. But that is the hook of the deep dive we are embarking on today.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at a book called The Power of Revision by Adélérè Adésínà. And right off the bat, I have to be the skeptic here. When I hear revision, my brain immediately goes to high school English class. I'm thinking of red pens, editing a manuscript, or, fixing a typo in a script like this one.
It feels very clerical.
Yes. Clerical is the perfect word. It sounds dry.
That is definitely the common association. It sounds almost bureaucratic. But Adésínà is going for something much, much deeper, almost metaphysical here.
Okay.
This isn't about editing text on a page. This is a spiritual and psychological practice.
Mm-hmm.
He defines revision as, and I want to get this quote precisely because every single word matters.
Lay it on us.
The art of matching our beliefs to our ideals, making what we believe to be true conform to what we wish is true.
Making what we believe to be true conform to what we wish is true.
Okay, let's unpack that immediately because my skeptic alarm it's ringing.
I'm sure it is.
It sounds a little bit like fake it till you make it, or even just, I don't know, straight up delusion.
Yeah.
Is he saying we just pretend things didn't happen? It's more nuanced than that. It's not about pretending. It's essentially saying that you possess the ability to mentally rewrite events to change their effect on your reality.
Their effect.
Okay. Yeah. And the source material here is very heavily grounded in the teachings of Neville Goddard. If you're familiar with Goddard, you know his core thesis is imagination creates reality.
Right. A huge concept in itself.
A massive concept.
Mm-hmm.
And Adésínà is taking that broad thesis and applying it specifically to the concept of fixing sins.
We need to put a massive flashing neon asterisk on that word sin right now.
Absolutely.
Because for a lot of people, myself included, that word just brings up religious trauma, guilt, moral judgment, hellfire, all of that baggage.
It's loaded.
Right.
It's a very loaded term. And if you cling to that traditional definition, this entire book will make absolutely no sense.
So for our mission here today, which is to unpack the specific techniques and practices to help you, the listener, become a master doer of your own reality.
We have to redefine our term.
We have to. So what is the new definition?
In this text, sin is completely stripped of moral judgment. It's defined very simply, going back to its Greek roots, as missing the mark.
Like in archery.
Exactly like archery. It's failing to achieve an objective. It is not violating some high and mighty religious code. If you aimed for a goal and you missed it, in the context of the power of revision, that is the sin.
Okay, that makes it much more practical. So let's say I interview for a job I really, really want. I aim for the bullseye, I don't get the job. I've sinned in this specific definition because I missed my objective.
Precisely. You missed the mark, and therefore the follow-up concept, forgiveness, isn't about moral absolution or being a saint.
It's not about someone in the sky pardoning you.
Not at all. Forgiveness is revision. It is the act of changing the mental story to match the fantasy of your heart. You forgive the failure by revising it into a success in your imagination.
Okay, this is where my logical brain starts to pump the brakes, because this sounds great in theory, but practically. If I didn't get the promotion, I didn't get the promotion. My bank account says $0 extra. The email in my inbox says, "We regret to inform you." How does revising that change anything? Isn't that just denial?
That is the crucial question, and it's the one everyone asks. Denial implies you are ignoring the reality while letting the feeling of failure fester underneath.
Right, like putting a blanket over a fire. The fire is still burning.
Exactly. Revision is different. It's an active transformation of the memory itself. Adésínà breaks this down methodically into what he calls the 5 aspects of a revision. This is the actual toolkit.
All right, let's walk through the toolkit. I need the step by step. What's step 1?
The first aspect is ideals.
Yeah.
You cannot revise anything unless you know what you actually want. You have to ask, what is the ideal here? What is the perfect outcome?
That seems obvious. I want the job.
You'd be surprised. So many people focus on what they don't want. I don't want to be unemployed. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be lonely.
And the book makes a really important distinction here.
A very important one. Revision is not just imagining the opposite of a problem. It's imagining the specific solution.
What's the functional difference there? It sounds like semantics.
Well, let's use the unemployment example. If you are unemployed, you don't revise by saying, I am not unemployed.
Why not?
Because that phrasing keeps the focus, the mental energy on the state of unemployment. The word is still there. Your brain is still processing unemployed.
I see that.
You revise to, I am gainfully employed. Or even better, I love my new job. I'm so valued at my company. It sounds like a tiny shift, but psychologically is a world of difference. You aren't running away from the problem, you are running into the solution.
You have to define the destination, not just the escape route.
That's the perfect way to put it. You need a clear, positive ideal.
Okay, that's ideals. Got it. What's next on the list?
The second aspect is beliefs. A belief in this context is simply an idea that you've accepted as true. It's a mental habit.
Like, I'm not good at interviews, or things never work out for me.
Exactly. Those are beliefs. And revision is the tool you use to replace the belief in the problem with the belief in the solution you just defined with your ideal.
Can you give me a concrete example from the book on this one?
Sure. Let's talk about health. If someone you know is sick, the natural belief, confirmed by your eyes, the doctors, the symptoms, is this person is ill. It's a fact, right?
It seems like one, yeah.
To revise this, you don't just imagine they aren't sick. That's too vague. You revise that they're perfectly healthy. The text even suggests using a really vivid, specific phrase, like imagining them being youthful as a teenager.
So you're not just negating the negative, you're creating a powerful, specific positive.
You are overwriting the belief of illness with the specific emotionally charged belief of vitality. You're replacing one truth with another.
That leads perfectly into the third aspect, which I found fascinating because it completely contradicts so much of the positive vibes only advice you see all over social media.
Oh, absolutely. This is the aspect of action.
And the instruction here is be angry, but sin not.
Yes.
I love that. It sounds biblical, but it feels so permissive. Like, it's okay to be mad.
It is biblical, but the application here is purely psychological. Adésínà is saying you do not have to wait until you are zen and calm and perfectly aligned to revise.
Thank goodness.
A lot of people think, I can't manifest a revise until I'm in a high vibration. Adésínà says that's nonsense. You can do the revision even if you are furious or depressed or riddled with anxiety.
That is such a relief. Because usually when something goes wrong, like say I get a terrible, unfair email from my boss, my immediate reaction is anger.
Of course.
My heart rate spikes. My face gets hot. I am not in a state to sit down and meditate on peace and love.
And you don't have to be. You can be angry. But sin not, which remember means don't miss the mark.
Don't accept the failure.
Don't let the anger solidify the failure into your reality. Use that energy. Adésínà is telling you to revise through the emotion. The action of revising is what matters, not the initial emotional state you were in.
So I can be fuming, pacing my kitchen, muttering under my breath, but as long as I'm actively rewriting that script in my head, I'm doing the work.
Exactly. In fact, that raw emotional energy can sometimes make the visualization even more potent and real.
So ideal, belief, action. What's number 4?
Repetition.
Okay.
You do a specific revision once, meaning you create the scene, you imagine it vividly, but you repeat it until all doubt vanishes.
So it's not a one and done deal.
Not always. Sometimes it is if you really nail it.
Yeah.
But often the old belief is stubborn.
How do you know when you've repeated it enough? Is there a buzzer that goes off? How do I know it took?
The sign of success is what the source calls the relief of possession.
So a relief of possession.
It's a feeling of calm. The anxiety just drains away. Or, interestingly, you might just simply forget about the problem because it feels resolved.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know how when you actually handle a task like paying a bill you were worried about, you stop worrying about it instantly.
Yeah, the brain just dumps the data. It checks the box and moves on.
Revision works the same way. When the internal reality feels fixed, your mind drops the anxiety. You might even feel a sense of boredom regarding the topic. If you try to bring it up to revise again, your mind is just like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
That means it's done.
Okay, that's a great metric. So the goal is to get to a state of mental, it's handled.
Precisely. And that leads directly to the fifth and final aspect, expansion.
Expansion.
The result of this entire practice isn't just getting what you want, like the job or the better health. The real prize is an expansion of your consciousness. You start to shift what you accept as true about reality and about yourself.
It's like leveling up in a video game. You realize you have more control over the code than you thought. You're not just a character being moved around.
Precisely. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become, as the author puts it, a doer. You stop reacting to the world and start acting upon it from the inside out.
So let's get into the how-to. We've got the theory, ideals, beliefs, action, repetition, expansion. But how do I actually do this? What are the mechanics? Do I need to lie down? Do I need complete silence?
The book really emphasizes simplicity. There's a human tendency to overcomplicate visualization. We think we need a 4K movie playing in our heads.
Right, with a full soundtrack and perfect dialogue.
And Adésínà says to just keep it straightforward, replay the event in your mind, but change the specific detail that was displeasing to match your ideal. Just that one little tweak.
There's a classic story from Neville Goddard that's included in the source, and it illustrates this perfectly. The high story.
Yes.
It's so mundane, which is what I think makes it so relatable and powerful.
It's a classic for a reason. So the scenario is this. A woman encounters a man, let's call him Ed, whom she's known for a long time. But for whatever reason, he hasn't spoken to her in a year. There's a chill between them.
Okay, we've all been there. Awkward.
Very awkward.
Sure.
She sees him on the street, decides to break the ice, smiles and says hi.
And Ed?
Ed just ignores her, stone cold, walks right past as if she's invisible.
Ouch, that stings. The immediate reaction for 99% of us is, what a jerk, or what did I do wrong? And the mental spiral begins.
Natural. Her initial reaction is hurt and anger. But instead of letting that spiral take over, she stops herself mentally, right there on the sidewalk. She doesn't confront him physically. She doesn't text him later saying, what's your problem?
So what does she do?
She rewrites the scene in her imagination immediately.
Walk us through exactly what she does inside her head. What's the new movie?
It's very simple. She imagines herself saying hi, just as she did. But in her revision, she imagines him turning, a big smile breaking out on his face, and him answering hi with genuine warmth and enthusiasm.
So she just changes his reaction.
That's it. And she loops this tiny little scene, her saying hi, him smiling and saying hi back over and over in her mind, until the initial feeling of rejection is completely replaced by a warm sentiment. She repeats it until she feels in her heart, good old Ed.
She replaces the feeling of rejection with the feeling of connection. She literally changes her emotional memory of the event and the outcome.
The next time they met in person, the dynamic had completely shifted. He was warm and friendly to her. It changed the state of the relationship because her belief about the state of the relationship had shifted first.
That is what is so tricky and so profound about this. It implies that by changing her internal reaction, she changed his external behavior.
That is the core premise of the whole philosophy. Neville Goddard's famous line is, the world is yourself pushed out. What you assume to be true on the inside gets reflected on the outside.
But there's a crucial technical tip here that Adésínà points out, which makes the revision stick better. It's about using the right sensory detail.
Yes, this is so practical. You should use the same medium the bad news came in.
Okay, this is the phone versus email thing. I found this really helpful.
It's brilliant. If you got bad news via a phone call, you should revise hearing good news on the phone. Feel the phone in your hand, hear their voice in your ear, but hear them saying wonderful things.
And if it was an email?
If it was a rejection email, you revise reading a congratulatory email. Imagine seeing the same sender, the same subject line, but the body of the email says, we're thrilled to offer you the position.
And the key is not to try and force a physical change that doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Don't imagine yourself driving to their house to get them to change their mind if the whole interaction was digital.
Right. If I get a rejection email, I shouldn't imagine the boss showing up at my front door with balloons and a giant check.
Right. Because that creates cognitive dissonance. Your logical brain knows that's highly unlikely, and it will fight the visualization.
It's too big of a jump.
It's too big of a jump. But imagining opening the same laptop, clicking the same email icon, and just reading different words, that feels real. It's plausible. It keeps the brain from fighting the logic of the scenario, so it can accept the emotional reality of it.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Now let's move on to what the book calls the bread and butter of this practice, which is daily revisions. This isn't just for big life disasters or occasional snubs on the street. This is presented as a daily hygiene practice.
Think of it exactly like brushing your teeth. You don't wait until you have a cavity to start brushing your teeth, right?
No, that would be a bad strategy.
You do it daily to maintain dental health. Daily revision is for maintaining your mental and emotional health. The concept here is reviewing the day's events within the same 24-hour cycle.
And there's an analogy in the book for this that I absolutely loved. It's the Supreme Court.
It's such a powerful way to frame it. Your consciousness is the Supreme Court of your reality.
Okay.
Throughout the day, the lower courts, which are your senses, the news, your boss, your bank balance, they're constantly handing down verdicts.
And those verdicts are things like you're late, you're broke, you're sick, you're awkward in that meeting.
All of them. And usually we just accept those verdicts as final. We say, well, the court has rules. I guess I'm broke and awkward today.
We just rubber stamp the decision.
We do. But you, as the Chief Justice of your Supreme Court, have the power of judicial review. You do not have to accept the day's events as final until you pass your own verdict.
So at the end of the day, I get to review all the case files from the lower courts, and I can overturn their rulings.
That is exactly it. You veto the bad news, you uphold the good news, but the timing of this court session is key. It must be a deliberate time.
Like a scheduled court session. You can't just do it whenever.
Right. It's a formal practice. Maybe it's for 15 minutes after dinner or right before you fall asleep. The key is that it has to be consistent. You review the day, what happened.
What sorts of things should you be revising on a daily basis?
The book breaks it down into categories. First, your personal events. Did you have a meeting that ran late? Did you lose your wallet? Were your finances looking scarce? Did you have a bad meal at a restaurant?
Even something that small. A bad meal.
Absolutely. No detail is too small for the Supreme Court. You revise it to have been a wonderful, delicious meal. You're training your consciousness to expect only the best.
Okay, so personal events. What's next?
Witnessed events. This is a big one.
This is seeing something happen to someone else, right?
Yeah. Yes. Did you see a news report about a disaster? Did a neighbor tell you about their massive debt? Did you see a stray dog on the street that looked sick?
My first question is why? If it didn't happen to me, why does it matter to my reality? Isn't that just sticking my head in the sand about the world's problems?
It's a great question. The reasoning is that if it entered your consciousness, if you saw it, if you heard it, it became part of your reality for that moment. By revising it, you are cleaning your own internal state. You are refusing to accept a world filled with lack and suffering. You are proving to yourself that your world is good. And by extension, you are sending a positive imaginal act out to the person or situation.
So I'm not ignoring it. I'm redeeming it within my own mind.
You are redeeming it. It's a form of mental charity.
That also applies to the next category, reported events, which is basically gossip.
Gossip is a big one. Someone comes to you with bad news about a mutual friend. Did you hear what happened to Sarah? Instead of engaging in the negativity, you mentally revise the report. You imagine hearing them say, "Isn't it wonderful about Sarah?"
You changed the story you were told.
You changed the story. But there is one category here that I think is a complete game changer for anyone trying to improve themselves.
Let me guess. Habits.
Habits. Procrastination. The bane of your existence.
It truly is.
Procrastination, smoking, overeating, nail biting, you name it. The source provides a fascinating and, frankly, liberating insight here. We often hear that habits take, 21 days or 90 days to break.
I've heard the 21-day rule a million times. It's standard self-help dogma.
Adésínà argues that's nonsense.
Really?
He argues that habits change the moment your attention shifts from the old habit to the new desired state. It's instantaneous.
How does that work in practice with revision?
So at the end of your day, you review your procrastination. You see that 3-hour block where you were scrolling on your phone instead of working on that report.
A painfully familiar image.
Instead of beating yourself up, you revise it. You rewrite that 3-hour block. You see yourself at your desk, focused, in the flow, typing away. You see yourself hitting send on the completed report.
You have to feel the feeling, right?
You have to feel the satisfaction, the relief, the pride of having finished it.
Yeah.
That feeling is what overwrites the neural pathway of the bad habit. You begin to identify with the version of you who is productive, not the one who procrastinates.
So instead of trying to break a habit with willpower, which is exhausting,
you are revising the past to align with a version of you who doesn't even have that habit. It's a foundational shift.
That feels much more empowering than just feeling guilty all the time. It's active, it's creative.
It removes the friction and the self-judgment, which are often what keep the habit in place.
Okay, let's talk about other people. We touched on this with the high story, but the book goes much deeper into revising experiences with others. There is a Monopoly analogy here that really clicked for me.
It's a great perspective shift. In a game of Monopoly, usually you want your opponents to land on your hotels so they go bankrupt and you can win. It's a zero-sum game.
My win depends on your loss.
Right. But Adésínà says in the game of life, We are not playing against opponents. We are all connected in one consciousness.
So when another player passes go and collects $200,
that money is potentially yours. In a spiritual sense, their success is your success because you were observing it. Their good fortune proves that good fortune exists in your world. So when others succeed, we should celebrate it as if it happened to us.
That's a huge mental shift away from jealousy or envy.
It's the antidote to envy. And it leads to two types of revision for others. The first is voluntary. This is unrequested revision.
So I just decide to do it for them.
Correct. This is when you hear bad news on the TV or a friend is complaining and you revise it for them without them ever knowing.
Yeah.
But there is a crucial technique here that trips a lot of people up.
What's that?
Do not imagine you getting what they want.
Okay, that's important. So if my friend Alice wants to get married, I should not imagine myself walking down the aisle.
Exactly. The book calls this the self-insertion trap. If you visualize yourself at a wedding, your subconscious might think you want to get married. Or you might just manifest an invitation to a party. It's not specific enough to her.
So what should I imagine instead?
You need to imagine witnessing them having their desire. And the most effective way is to imagine a conversation. For Alice, you don't visualize the ceremony per se. You visualize hearing Alice tell you, "Isn't it wonderful? I am so happily married."
So I'm imagining the confirmation. I'm revising the report that I get from her.
It's all about the report. You are revising the interaction you have with them about their success. That's the key.
Okay, that clarifies a lot. Then there's obliged revision. This is when someone actually asks for help.
Or when you induce it. This is a fascinating technique. You can actually take a chronic complainer, someone who is just venting and venting in a loop, and stop them.
You just interrupt them.
You politely interrupt and say, "Stop. I hear you. But what do you actually want? What is the ideal situation here?" When they tell you, "Well, I want X," you use that as the permission slip to revise it for them.
It's like a spiritual power move. Stop the complaining, get the objective, and then you go and revise it.
Exactly. And then, and this is the hardest part for all the fixers and helpers out there, you let it go completely.
The book uses a powerful phrase for this.
I have done it. It is done.
I have done it. It is done.
Yes. No need to follow up physically.
Yeah.
No need to text them the next day, "Hey, did that thing work out?" That just introduces doubt.
And what if they come back the next week complaining about the exact same thing?
You ignore the complaint. In your mind, you stick to the revised reality. You hold the vision of their success even if they temporarily drop it. You have to be the anchor.
That requires some serious mental discipline. You have to trust your own imagination more than the physical evidence and their own words in front of you.
It does. But that is the core of the entire practice. Trusting imagination over fact.
Which brings us to perhaps the most mind-bending and for some people the most controversial section of the book. Time travel. Revising the past. The book makes an incredibly bold promise. It says, the day will come, everyone is going to change the entire past.
It's a wild statement. But the idea is that we're all walking around with baggage from our past, especially our childhood, that we don't need to carry. Adésínà talks about childhood dramas.
This is the role-playing concept, right?
Right. Children role-play constantly. They play house, cops and robbers, rich merchant. The author argues that these seemingly innocent games solidify into core beliefs.
Can you give an example?
The book uses the example of a little girl who loved to play the role of a rich but constantly quarreling wife. In her game, she always has beautiful things, but she's always fighting with her imaginary husband.
Okay.
She grows up and she lives that exact reality. She marries a wealthy man, she has the beautiful house, but the marriage is just constant chaos and fighting.
Because she laid the track for that train 20 years ago in her playroom.
Exactly. Her subconscious doesn't know it was just a game. It took the blueprint and built the house. So the fix, according to the book, is to go back to that childhood memory.
You have to become a time traveler.
You do.
Yeah.
You go back and you revise the role play. You imagine that little girl playing the rich wife, but this time she's dancing peacefully with her husband. They're happy. You rewrite the seed of the behavior.
Wow. There's also a really important distinction here between thinking from and thinking of when it comes to childhood desires.
This is such a critical nuance. The book argues that many adults fail to achieve their childhood dreams because they are still relating to those dreams in the exact same way they did as a child, by hoping for them.
They are thinking of the dream. They're looking at it from a distance as something they want in the future.
Exactly. As a kid, you say, "I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. I want to be a doctor." As a 40-year-old, if you're still in that state of wanting, you haven't shifted your consciousness.
So you're just a 40-year-old who wants to be a doctor instead of a 7-year-old who wants to be a doctor. The wanting is the constant.
The wanting is the state you're stuck in. To fix this, you revise the childhood memory itself. You don't remember yourself saying, I will be a doctor. You revise the memory so that your child self is saying, I am a world-famous doctor.
You move from a state of anticipation to a state of possession, but you do it in the past.
Yes, you change the foundation of that desire from hoping to having. It's a deep foundational change.
Now, the book also takes a pretty radical stance on trauma. And I want to tread carefully here because trauma is real, it's visceral, and this is not a replacement for professional help. But we need to report what the source says.
It is radical. And that disclaimer is important. The source posits that the lingering effect of trauma is maintained by our continued belief in the hurtful events.
What's the example used?
It gives the example of a child being robbed at night, a genuinely terrifying event. The revision technique suggested is not to erase the event, but to change its conclusion. You revise the memory to waking up safe, protected by guards, and feeling an overwhelming sense that the world is a safe place that wants to protect you.
So it's not about denying the fear, it's about rewriting the narrative from one of danger to one of ultimate safety.
Exactly. And Adésínà uses a brilliant analogy here to explain why fixing past events is so powerful. He calls it the antivirus.
I like this one. It made it click for me instantly.
If a bad pattern repeats in your life, say every business you start fails or every relationship ends the same way, it's like a virus that has infected your whole system.
A recurring bug in the code.
Exactly. By going back and revising the first instance of that failure, maybe a lemonade stand that flopped when you were 6, or that first painful breakup, it acts like an antivirus program.
It cleans the root file.
It cleans the root file, and that cleans the whole network. You don't have to go back and revise every single failed business. You go to the origin of the belief that my businesses fail, you fix that one, and the rest of the pattern clears up.
That is efficient. I like efficiency. Now let's flip the script because this isn't all doom and gloom and fixing the past. We've talked a lot about fixing bad things. But section 6 is about expansion revising success.
Yes, this is for the overachievers. This is for people who think things are pretty good, but could they be great? Revision isn't just for cleaning up messes. It's for making good things even better.
The screenwriter story is the perfect example here.
It's a fantastic story. So a screenwriter submits a script to a producer. He gets feedback, and the producer says, good, just good.
Now, most of us would probably be happy with that. Hey, he liked it. It's good.
Right? Good is a pass. But this writer wants more. So he goes home and he revises the conversation. In his mind, he hears the producer saying, great, just great.
And what happens?
Later, the producer actually uses those exact words to someone else, which the writer overhears. It's great, just great.
But he doesn't stop there.
No. Now he knows it works. So he revises it again, up to terrific. Then finally, he revises it all the way to absolutely sensational. He keeps upgrading the review in his mind.
And the external reality kept shifting to match his internal upgrade.
That's the lesson. You don't have to settle for your current level of success. You can constantly edit it upwards. Assume better and better things for yourself.
I love the practical examples the book gives for this too. Like, if a doctor gives you good news with a limitation.
Yes. The doctor says, great news, you're fertile, but you can probably only have 2 kids.
Most people would just accept that.
But you can revise.
I love the practical examples the book gives for this too. Like, if a doctor gives you good news with a limitation.
Yes. The doctor says, great news, you're fertile, but you can probably only have 2 kids.
Most people would just accept that.
But you can revise it. In your mind, you hear the doctor saying, you are perfectly fertile and can have a house full of healthy children if you want. You take the limitation off.
Same with a job offer. If you're promised a 10% raise.
Revise it to a 30% raise immediately. Don't wait. Change the mental contract in your imagination before you sign the physical one.
There's also this really brain-twisting concept of freedom from time when it comes to past choices. This is the whole option A versus option B thing. This is really about addressing regret, isn't it?
It's the ultimate tool for dissolving regret. Let's say 5 years ago, you had to choose between taking job A and job B. You picked A. Now, 5 years later, you hate job A, and you're consumed with the thought, if only I had picked job B.
That's a very common human experience, the what if.
And usually, we think we are stuck with the consequences of that choice forever. Adésínà says, no, you are not. You can revise the past to believe that you chose job B.
But wait, I'm sitting at the desk of job A. I have the paycheck from job A. My LinkedIn profile says I work at Jobe. How does that work?
Physically, yes, the facts are what they are. But if you go back in your imagination and revise the memory so that you chose B and you feel the success and happiness you believe you would have had on that path,
what does that do for me now?
you start to attract the essence of that path into your current life. You free yourself from the energetic drag of regret. You start living from the state of the person who made the right choice, which makes you more magnetic to better opportunities right where you are.
It's like you're merging timelines. You're pulling the benefits of the other path into this one.
In a way, yes. It's about changing your self-concept, which is what the whole next section is about.
Right. Speaking of self-concept, that's our next big topic. The book defines self-concept as the house built by the building blocks of assumptions.
I love that definition. Your identity isn't fixed. It's just a collection of things you've assumed to be true about yourself over time.
And one of the most common and damaging self-concepts that Adésínà identifies is something he calls the superhero complex.
Which sounds cool, right? Who doesn't want to be a superhero?
It sounds great, but apparently in this context, it is not a good thing to be.
It's not. The superhero complex is the deep-seated assumption that bad things will happen so that you can then swoop in and save the day.
Oh, I know people like this. They seem to thrive on crisis. They are the fixers.
They are the fixers.
Yeah.
Or they're the people who are constantly bracing for impact. Think of the kid in school who assumes the class will laugh at their presentation, so they prepare a witty comeback or a defense mechanism in advance.
So they are manifesting the disaster just so they have an opportunity to use their defense?
Exactly. They need the fire, so they can be the hero with the fire hose. The fix is to go back to the very first moment you can remember making that kind of assumption.
And revise it?
You revise it. You imagine the class applauding your answer. You imagine the presentation going perfectly. You imagine there is no crisis to save. Retiring the superhero means accepting that things can just go smoothly without your dramatic intervention.
That is actually harder for some people than dealing with the crisis. Peace can be boring if you're addicted to the drama of being the hero.
Correct. But it's a much happier and more peaceful way to live.
And we can use the same principle for the future too, right? What the book calls anticipatory revision.
Yes. This is about the stories you tell yourself about what's coming. If you are dreading retirement because you fear you'll be bored or irrelevant, you are assuming it will be bad. You are writing a tragedy before the opening credits have even rolled.
You're pre-paving a negative future.
You are. So you revise the template now. You start telling yourself, retirement looks good on me. You imagine yourself vibrant, healthy, wealthy, and engaged in your later years. You lay the positive track before the train of your life gets there.
Okay, we are going deep now. Section 8. This is where the book gets into the why of it all. The 7 levels of consciousness. What is the purpose of life according to this text?
It's quite poetic, actually. It says the purpose of life is not to amass a fortune or become famous. The purpose is to tend the garden of God.
And what is the garden of God?
The garden is your own consciousness.
Tending the garden. I like that. It implies weeding out the bad beliefs, planting the good ones, watering them.
That's exactly it. And Adésínà outlines a kind of ladder of consciousness that we all climb. It starts at the very bottom, at level 1, which is called Lucifer.
Which here doesn't mean a devil with a pitchfork, I assume?
No, not at all. It's a state of consciousness. It represents the fallen state. Total amnesia of your own divine power. You feel like a complete victim of circumstances.
Powerless. Okay, what's level 2?
Level 2 is Molech. This is the level of fear. You're aware that some kind of God or higher power exists, but you fear it. You believe you have to make sacrifices to appease a punishing deity.
Like if I give up chocolate for a month, maybe I'll get the promotion. It's bargaining.
It's bargaining out of fear.
Right.
Exactly. Level 3 is Elohim.
Okay.
This is the level of serving external gods. And that can mean anything from stars and signs and angel numbers to gurus. You're constantly looking for signs from the universe rather than taking responsibility for creating your own reality.
I think a lot of people in the modern spiritual space get stuck there. It feels spiritual, but it's still passive. What's level 4?
Level 4 is Shaddai. This is relying on organizations or the government for your safety and security. The belief that the system will save me.
Then level 5 is Pahath.
This is making money your god. The relentless pursuit of wealth, often by trying to trap or outsmart others. The hyper-competitive rat race.
And then we get to the good stuff. Level 6, Jehovah.
This is the major turning point.
Yeah.
Jehovah is translated as I am. This is the level of self-persuasion. You finally realize, I am the creator of my reality. You assert the supremacy of your own self and your imagination.
But that's not the top of the ladder.
No, that's an incredibly powerful state, but it can sometimes be ego-driven. It can be all about what can I get from me. The highest level, level 7, is Jesus.
And again, in this context, Jesus represents a state of consciousness, not the historical figure exclusively.
Exactly. It is the highest level of awareness. It's about sacrificing one's real self, your ego, your need to be right, your personal desires, to revise lovingly for others.
So it's about using this power for everyone.
Yes. You stop judging the world as it appears. You stop complaining about it. Instead, you redeem it through your imagination. You walk through the world, constantly pruning the garden, seeing everyone as their highest and best self. That's the ultimate goal.
That is a beautiful concept. It moves from I can get what I want to I can heal the world around me with my mind.
That is the ultimate purpose of revision.
Oh, okay. Before we wrap up this deep dive, we have to cover the advanced techniques. These are the real manifestation hacks in the book. First up is induced revision.
This is a fascinating one. It's a manifestation hack that uses a friend as a sort of imaginal prop. Step 1, you go to a trusted friend and you state a desire as a want. I really want a new car.
Okay, so I say, I want a new car.
Don't worry about explaining the technique to them. Just say the words.
Yeah.
Then step 2, you go home and as soon as possible, you revise that memory.
How so?
You change the memory of you saying, I want a new car, to you saying, I have a new car. And then you imagine your friend's reaction. You hear them saying, congratulations, that car is beautiful. Can I take it for a spin?
So you use the real physical conversation as a springboard to set up the mental revision.
Precisely. The lesson here is that physical words mean nothing until you give them power and meaning. You can literally rewrite your recent conversations to align with your manifested desire.
That's trip. And finally, the most sci-fi concept of the entire day, eliminating time.
This is for when you've had a really, really bad period, a terrible week, a horrible month.
Just a total dumpster fire of a month where everything went wrong.
Yes. The book suggests you can literally delete that section of time from your consciousness.
How on earth do you do that?
Adésínà suggests this technique. You imagine going to sleep on the last day of the good month before the bad one. So say April was terrible. You imagine it's the night of March 31st.
Okay.
And then you imagine yourself waking up and it's May 1st.
You literally skip April in your mind.
You connect the two positive bookends, the end of March and the beginning of May, and you effectively erase the bad month and all of its negative consequences from your mental and emotional timeline. You refuse to give it any more attention or validity.
That is bold. That is a level of radical denial, but used very strategically.
It's not denial of events, it's denial of their power over you. It's asserting that you are the master of your timeline, not the victim of it.
So, after all of this, what does this all mean for us, for the listener? What's the big takeaway?
I think it means we have the master key. This tool, revision, it applies to everything. The past, the present, the future, to yourself and to others. There's no area of life it doesn't touch.
And the final provocative thought from the source is that God isn't some entity outside of you. God is actually your own awareness of being, your own I amness.
And if that's true, if you are the operant power in your universe, and you have a tool that can literally change the past, what excuse do you have left for not living your ideal life?
That is both incredibly empowering and honestly a little terrifying. It puts all the responsibility right back on you. No more excuses.
No more excuses.
So here's our call to action for you, the listener. Don't just listen to this and think, that was interesting. Try it. Pick one small, trivial event from today. A conversation that went weird, a meal that was disappointing, a moment of frustration, and revise it tonight before you sleep.
Prove to yourself that the time machine works.
And as the book concludes, once you have done your revision, you drop it. It is done.
It is done.